Today I'll be showing you a 2016 sci-fi romance drama called Passengers. Spoilers ahead, so watch out and take care. The massive interstellar spacecraft Avalon glides silently through space, traveling toward a distant colony world known as Homestead 2. Every cabin on board is empty, and the entire ship functions on autopilot. Inside the vessel, 258 crew members and more than 5,000 passengers lie peacefully in hibernation, all scheduled to wake upon arrival. Suddenly, the Avalon enters a dense asteroid field. Its shields begin to weaken, forcing the ship to divert power to its main defenses. Despite this, it remains on a collision course with the massive asteroid. Moments later, the asteroid slams into the ship, triggering multiple system failures. The Avalon immediately begins repairing itself, but one critical malfunction occurs. A single hibernation pod activates. The passenger who awakens is Jim Preston, a mechanical engineer. His pod opens, and an automated system guides him through the waking process, informing him that he has spent 120 years in suspended animation and that the ship is only 4 months away from Homestead. The system encourages him to enjoy the luxuries of the ship during the remaining journey. Jim receives his ID band, cabin assignment, and activity instructions. Excited yet nervous to meet the other passengers, he prepares himself and steps outside. He enters what appears to be a classroom designed for groups, but he is completely alone. A hologram begins a lecture about Earth being overpopulated, overpriced, and overrated, instructing him to save his questions until the end. Jim keeps interrupting, asking why no one else is present, but the hologram cannot respond. Confused and uneasy, Jim searches for others. He reaches the main concourse, which is completely empty. An automated information desk offers help. Jim asks to speak with a real person. He is directed toward a steward, but again finds no one. Desperate, he tries to reach the captain. From outside the bridge, he says that none of the crew members are awake either. Jim finally reaches the observatory, where he makes a horrifying discovery. The ship is not 4 months away from Homestead, as he was told. It is actually still 90 years from its destination. He realizes that he woke far too early. Panicked, he rushes back to the concourse and sends a message to Earth asking what he should do and how to return to hibernation. The system informs him that his message will take approximately 55 years to receive a response. Jim is utterly devastated. Wandering through the ship, Jim enters the bar and notices someone behind the counter. He tries to make conversation, but quickly realizes that the bartender is not human. The android introduces himself as Arthur. Jim attempts to understand how he could be awake while everyone else sleeps, but Arthur cannot comprehend the situation beyond his programming. The next day, Jim visits the cantina and discovers that most of the menu items are reserved exclusively for gold-class passengers. He settles for plain coffee and begins searching for a way to fix his hibernation pod. After gathering tools, he restarts the pod and lies inside it, hoping it will work. Nothing happens. He then attempts to access the crew's hibernation chambers, but those fail as well. Minor malfunctions begin to appear throughout the ship. Lonely and growing increasingly distant, Jim returns to the bar often to drink and talk with Arthur. The android suggests that Jim enjoy the ship's luxuries. Taking the advice, he breaks into a gold-class suite and begins exploring the restaurants, games, and entertainment systems. But no matter what he does, the isolation slowly consumes him. One day, drunk and wandering the corridors, Jim stumbles upon an airlock containing spacesuits meant for spacewalks. He puts on a suit, enters the airlock, and releases the door. As he floats outside the Avalon, he is stunned by the beauty of space. He releases the magnets on his boots and drifts freely, overwhelmed by loneliness. He returns inside, but soon goes back to the airlock without his suit. Standing there ready to end his life, he hesitates at the last second, runs back, and slips on a bottle. As he regains his balance, his eyes fall on a female passenger in one of the hibernation pods. Her name is Aurora.
Jim searches her files and listens to her personal interviews, becoming captivated by her words and personality. He often sits beside her pod, listening to her recordings over and over. At the bar, he reads her published work and talks with Arthur about her writing. The cruel irony of his situation overwhelms him. He came seeking a better life, woke up too early, and now has found the perfect woman he can never reach. Slowly, a dangerous thought takes hold. Jim considers waking Aurora up. He discusses it with Arthur, who cannot grasp the moral weight of the decision. Jim knows that if he wakes her up, he will condemn her to die on the ship with him. He struggles with the idea and resists it for a long time, but eventually his loneliness wins. One day, he activates her pod. As Aurora begins waking, Jim hides and retreats to his cabin. Later, he goes to the main concourse and finds her, just as Jim once was. Jim tells her that they're the only two awake passengers. It takes her to the observatory. He explains that he cannot access the crew or the main systems. Aurora panics and demands to return to her pod, but Jim tells her the truth. There is no way back to hibernation. They are stranded. Shocked and heartbroken, Aurora is told to rest after the trauma of awakening. She expresses sympathy for Jim, realizing he has spent over a year alone. Jim returns to the bar filled with guilt and asks Arthur never to reveal the truth about her awakening. The next morning, Aurora explores the ship and questions the information desk about hibernation. Jim joins her for breakfast. She notices that Jim has been eating the same meal for over a year and orders him a gold-class breakfast. Unlike Jim, Aurora refuses to give up hope and begins searching desperately for a solution. She examines medical records, research documents, and even tries to break into the crew chambers. Meanwhile, ship malfunctions grow worse. Aurora tries to cope with their isolation by writing, running, and swimming, but despair slowly sets in. One day, she decides to interview Jim about his life. He explains that he hoped the new world would give him a chance to be someone and build a life. Later, in the observatory, Aurora shares her own dream. She planned to live on Homestead 2 for 1 year, then return to Earth and become the first journalist to document a new colony. The realization that her future has been stolen crushes her. Jim tries to lift her spirit by taking her dancing, to the movies, and to the basketball court. Eventually, they visit the bar and meet Arthur. For a while, Aurora relaxes, but the weight of their situation soon returns. Jim remains haunted by his guilt. In the observatory, Jim reveals a miniature model of the Chrysler building that he created for Aurora. Later, they share a romantic dinner and open up about their past. Aurora speaks about losing her father as a teenager. Afterwards, Jim takes her to the airlock. Together, they suit up and step outside for a spacewalk, floating freely through the stars. They share a deep, intimate moment and return inside to kiss and spend the night together. They soon live as a couple. Aurora moves into Jim's cabin. They run together, eat together, and build a life together aboard the Avalon. Jim discovers the hydroponics bay and brings the fresh flowers. On Aurora's birthday, they celebrate at one of the restaurants and later at the bar. While Jim prepares a ring in the washroom, Aurora speaks with Arthur. Unaware of the promise he made, Arthur reveals the truth. Jim intentionally woke her up. Jim returns and is immediately confronted. Aurora is devastated, angry, and betrayed. She storms away and removes all of her belongings from Jim's cabin. She avoids him completely. One night, overwhelmed by rage, Aurora attacks Jim in his room. Through tears and anger, she listens as he confesses his love and regret, but she cannot forgive him for stealing her life. Meanwhile, ship malfunctions escalate. The main command shuts down, elevators fail, food dispensers malfunction. The voice of a deck chief sounds over the intercom. His name is Gus Mancuso. The three meet, and Mancuso quickly realizes something is really wrong with the ship. Data must now be checked manually. More accidents follow. Mancuso learns the truth about Aurora's pod and confronts Jim, disgusted by his actions. Soon after, Mancuso becomes ill from hibernation sickness and collapses, coughing blood. He is dying and no treatment can save him. Before passing away, Mancuso gives Jim his ID bracelet and urges them to fix the ship. Emergency lights flash red. The ship begins to shake violently. Jim and Aurora rush toward engineering. Multiple system failure strikes at once. Arthur is disabled. The power plant is breached by the asteroid impact, and Aurora is nearly sucked into space. Together, they seal the damage, but another breach is discovered in the reactor computer. Jim realizes the reactor must be vented manually from outside the ship. He gives Aurora Mancuso's bracelet and prepares for a final spacewalk. Aurora begs him to return, admitting she cannot live without him. As Jim opens the external vent, the reactor overheats. Aurora is injured by the flying debris. Jim holds the door open with his own body, while Aurora vents the reactor.
The system stabilizes, but Jim is blown away and his suit begins losing pressure. Knowing he is dying, he apologizes to Aurora one final time. Aurora launches herself into space, reaches him, and pulls him back inside. Jim is dead when she reaches the infirmary. Using Mancuso's bracelet, Aurora overrides the medical protocols and the pod successfully revives Jim. She forgives him. Later, Arthur is repaired and Mancuso is given a proper burial in space. Jim reveals that the medical pod could be used as a hibernation chamber. He offers Aurora the chance to sleep for the remaining 88 years. She chooses to stay with him instead. Jim proposes, and they live out their lives together aboard the Avalon. 88 years later, the ship finally arrives at Homestead 2. The crew awakens to find the ship transformed into a lush garden. Aurora's final message plays, telling the story of the life she and Jim lived together while the rest of the passengers slept.